storms. If I go down to the grave, even there your hand will guide me, your right hand will hold me. I will trust you, Lord. Even when the storms are raging, I will love you, Lord. Even when this heart is breaking, if I ride the wings of morning, if I dwell by the farthest sea, even there your hand will guide me, and your strength sustain me. I will trust you, Lord. Even when the storms are raging, I will love you, Lord. Even when this heart is breaking, for I'm never alone. Your faithfulness endures forevermore. For I'm never alone. Your faithfulness endures forevermore. When you stumble through the waters, when you're walking through the fire, the waves shall never overcome you, flames shall not consume you. I will trust you, Lord. Even when the storms are raging, I will love you, Lord. I will trust you, Lord. Even when the storms are raging, I will love you, Lord. Even when this heart is breaking, for I go up to the heavens, if I go down to the grave, even there your hand will guide me, your right hand will hold me. I will trust you, Lord. Even when the storms are raging, I will love you, Lord. Even when this heart is breaking, if I ride the wings of morning, if I dwell by the farthest sea, even there your hand will guide me, and your strength sustain me. I will trust you, Lord. Even when the storms are raging, I will love you, Lord. Even when this heart is breaking, for I'm never alone. Your faithfulness endures forevermore. For I'm never alone. Your faithfulness endures forevermore. When you stumble through the waters, when you're walking through the fire, the waves shall never overcome you, flames shall not consume you. I will trust you, Lord. Even when the storms are raging, I will love you, Lord. I will trust you, Lord. Even when the storms are raging, I will love you, Lord. Even when this heart is breaking, for
good morning, good afternoon, or good evening from, and depending on where you're connecting. And first of all, what we're gonna do will be I'll check my audio and make sure that you all can hear me and you can see me okay. So tell me if you can't hear me or you can't see me okay. Because I want you all to have a good experience and as we learn and grow together. All right, so I'm still waiting to see who's joining us today and who's gonna have probably some questions as we look at our um, project here. So this is the second part of our project, and in this project, what we're gonna do will be looking again. As I said, it's our project. We're gonna look at how do we build an e-commerce platform. So this is what we'll be looking at. And give me a moment here. I need to make sure that you can see my writing here, and this is gonna help us. So we're gonna continue looking at how do we build an e-commerce on AWS. So how do we do that? And so we do it on AWS, and also we use Terraform. Terraform as kind of like our architect. Terraform will be our architect. So this is what we started working on since last week. And I had 2 weeks ago, I had just an introductory kind of like session to show you what we'll be doing. So this is the first project, and then the next project will be setting up Active Directory, which is a user management tool developed by Microsoft Windows, but we use AWS to take care of that. And that will be the next project which we'll be working on sometime in January next year, 2025. So this is what we have been looking at. How do we build an e-commerce platform on AWS using Terraform? And what is Terraform? Because remember, I have these sessions for beginners in cloud and DevOps. So you may probably be wondering, okay, what is Terraform? So Terraform, it is what we call an infrastructure. I'm gonna go here. An infrastructure as code tool. And the reason why a lot of companies are using Terraform, it's because it's not only for one cloud computing platform. I mean, you can use it on AWS, you can use it on Azure, Microsoft Azure, you can use it on Google, okay? You can use it on the other cloud computing platforms. So I'm gonna say here, you can use it on any cloud computing platform. So that's the beauty of Terraform. And with Terraform, what you do, you just write, you're gonna write a code. So you write a code which it is kind of like a descriptive code to say this is the state in which I want my resources to be in. So your resources, we use resource to create whatever service you want to provision or provision or create on a given platform. So you're gonna have to define the states in which you want all of the components of your infrastructure you want them to be in. So that's Terraform. And for our project, you don't need to write everything by yourself, because you're learning, and this is kind of like an introductory course to this journey, right? So you can take a Terraform course, but what I have done is that, and again, in case you didn't know me, my name is Emmanuel Noeji. I am the founder and CEO of Transform to Succeed. On Transform to Succeed, I'm working on different courses now. So there's one which is a DevOps course. And here you're gonna learn 20 plus tools. This will be available in January. So I'm gonna just throw this out for you all to be aware of. So in January 2025. So there are gonna be more details on my website, transformtosucceed.com. And this is really something that I would encourage you to enroll into. It's really gonna help you. And I remember, it's not about just getting certifications like a lot of people do, but it's about knowing your concepts. So every technology that you learn, make sure that you know your concepts. How do you know your concepts? It's by doing what we want to do now, right? In the next 50 minutes or so. So we want to work on a project. And what does this project entail is everything that you're gonna find on my GitHub. I'm gonna show my screen here. So I'll show my screen, share my GitHub account here. So if you go, there are two places where you can go and find more information about this. If you go to medium.com, go to my profile here, you're gonna find a story that I just published. I'm gonna show it to you quick. So this is a story I published today. I started working on this to support this project. So come here, and you should be able to. You're gonna see this this diagram. This is the project that we're working on, and on this project you can add more elements to the infrastructure. But this is kind of like a skeleton. It's like the foundation of what you need for something to work as an e-commerce platform. And then, for those of you watching on YouTube, make sure if you have any questions, just post your questions in the comment box there. Just let me know, and I can pause to explain and answer your questions as well. So this is what we have. So what we do is we're gonna place our web application on an S3 bucket, okay, on AWS. So meaning that we have to create this S3 bucket. This is a simple storage service. One of the storage services that you have on AWS. So you put it here. We're gonna put our website here and configure our bucket to allow people to access our website. Okay, so every time, and then we'll connect our website to CloudFront. CloudFront, it's a content delivery network tool or service that you have on AWS, which allows people from all around the world to connect to your web application. And I don't think I was sharing my screen here, sorry. So this is what I'm talking about here. So you have your users here. You have your users. And what they do, they want to access your web application that you have hosted on your S3 bucket. But for them to have access to that, you need CloudFront. CloudFront, as I said, it's a content delivery network tool that AWS provides for its customers. So now these when they want to connect, they're gonna connect through CloudFront. Okay, CloudFront will use your S3 bucket as an origin, but then they get the domain, the link, URL link, like from CloudFront. And you can configure CloudFront to work with a custom domain name. Like in my case, I could say T2S courses. That's .com. That's my custom domain. Then I have to configure my CloudFront to communicate with another service, which is known as Route 53, which I did not include here, but that's an additional source that you can resource that you can use and add to your infrastructure. And remember, this is like the backbone, like the very basic foundation of an e-commerce platform. So now, when people they connect to your domain, then they have access to your static website, and on this website, it's just a form for potential students to enroll either into DevOps course or cloud course, and once they do that, CloudFront communicate with an API gateway so that it can talk to Lambda. And then what Lambda does here, Lambda will then store the data or the inputs from potential students to DynamoDB, which is a NoSQL database or storage database, I would say. And then RDS, that's a SQL a database which is more structured. Okay, so we have information in DynamoDB and RDS. This is where we store all of the data that we input from our potential students, everyone who registers into our course. Then their identity, their names and emails and so on are stored in DynamoDB and RDS. And at the same time, once they do that, Lambda will communicate to another service known as a simple notification service, SNS, to notify the user that, hey, you've been enrolled and welcome to the course, something like that. And once they get that email or that notification, then they should be able to connect to the user interface, the course user interface, which will be like your actual, if you've taken classes online, you have to first pay, you enroll, and then you're gonna have access to your dashboard. And this is what happens here. But for them to connect to their dashboard, they need to authenticate themselves. And to authenticate themselves, then we use AWS or Amazon Cognito service here. So this is a very simple, structure or infrastructure that can allow you to build an e-commerce platform. And that's what I've done here. And for those who were able to watch my previous session, I talked about I didn't include Cognito. I did not include I don't remember if I included even CloudFront, because we only had to create nine resources, but now today we're gonna create more resources. And the other thing that I wanted to share with you is that you're gonna have to git clone all of the instructions. Part of my if you go to my GitHub, you should be able to see the instructions there. I'm gonna take you to my command line here. Just give me a moment. I'm gonna go to my command line here, and what I want to do is to first git clone all of the Terraform configurations. So we're gonna do that now. So I'll git clone all of my configurations here, and to do that, you're gonna just use the command git clone. So you're gonna use this command here, git clone. I'll make it a little bit bigger so that you can see that a little bit better. And for those watching on YouTube, make sure that you add your questions into the put your questions into the comment box, and then we'll take it from there. So this is the link to my GitHub repo here. So what you do, you just git clone, and after doing that, give me a moment here. I'm gonna add something so that you guys can see me. All right, that's better. All right, so what I was saying is that you git clone, and now you need to move into this one here. And to move into that, you're gonna do cd and then the name of the directory and press enter. If you ls, you're gonna see we have 4 different things here. We have this file, which is the instructions on how you can use this code. Then we have environments. Under environments, and I can do under environments, I can do this using this command here, tree command. And then if I do this, you're gonna see that under the environments we have the dev, we have the prod, we have the stage. So one of the best practices of using Terraform is to create folders. So this is a folder, it's a directory, and this is where I have dev, I have prod, I have stage. Those are the environments that you're gonna come across at work. And then we have modules, and in the modules we have a bunch of stuff there. I'll explain that to you. So in the modules we have a bunch of stuff. We have the API gateway, we have the CloudFront, Cognito. We also have DynamoDB, IAM, Lambda, RDS, S3, and SNS. So now I'm gonna explain again. First, we'll just go ahead and create all of these resources. And now, if you cut the README file here, it's a long file that I wrote to explain the many things that you can do with this code, how you can use it. Let's go to the beginning here quick. So here, this guide, it's a step-by-step instruction to show you how you can set up your e-commerce platform, okay, on AWS. Then you have prerequisites, and then you have the deployment steps, and that's what I just did, right? And now what we need to do, we're gonna have to go to the environment where we want to be. Remember when I did this here, you see the dev. this is where you test. This is like your playground. This is where you go, and then it's like as I said, your playground. You go in there and play in there, right? So on prod, that's when your application is functional, and you know that there are no errors, there are no mistakes. You have tested your application, and it's working, and now it's uh, in production, meaning that customers, they can consume your application, they can use it. Stage, that's where you test. You may have like your QA quality the people that do the testing, we call them QA. These people will be testing, and once they test it, they then validate that everything is working okay. That's when you move it to the production environment. So quality analysis that takes place in stage here. All right, so now what you have to do is to move into here, and when you look at prod and stage, you don't have these two additional files, right? And the reason is, once you know that it's working in dev, then you can just duplicate the same files, put them here, put them there, and the only thing you're gonna have to change is the Terraform tf-vars file. All right, and let's look and see what we have there. So we can cat because this is under dev, under environments. So we go under dev, and then we look at this file here. So this is the Terraform tf-vars file, and this is what you would say, okay, this is what you need to change. These are the key and value pairs that you're gonna have to pay attention to, and which makes your work easier, right? It makes your work easier. It makes your work easier, and then let me look at okay. And some people sent me messages here, students. All right, so these are the things that you're gonna have to change. Like, you may probably be asked to deploy this in a different region than US East 1, and then your manager or your boss may say, or your client may say, this is our naming convention. We don't use T2S. T2S is just my name here, my company, and then so these may change. And remember, on GitHub, you don't need to have this on GitHub, because these are kind of like sensitive pieces of information. So you're gonna do these locally on your local machine. So you're gonna have to do that there. So now let's go to the environment here and dev. Okay, this is where we initialize our project, our workplace here. So we're gonna initialize the entire project. Then we're gonna plan to preview to preview our infrastructure. And then after we preview, then we're gonna apply the configurations. So the first thing you do, you're gonna have to initialize. So you do this after you have made the changes on the Terraform tf-vars file. So this is what you do. So you have initialized, and when you initialize, remember, this is what you do. So you're gonna initialize the back end, meaning your state file. The state file, it is a file that is created when you initialize your project, and it keeps track of all of the deployment, all of the resources that you deploy or provision. And then after doing that, that state file, one of the best practices is that you store it in a remote place, like an S3 bucket. And then you use DynamoDB to lock that file. And that's something that I'll show you when I talk about Terraform specifically. All right. The next thing that Terraform init does is to initialize the modules. In an interview, when you're applying for a job, they may ask you, okay, what does Terraform init do? So this is what it does. Okay. After initializing the modules, and remember, these are the modules that I wrote, they're going to define the resources that we'll have to provision as part of our infrastructure. And then finally, we will initialize our provider plugins. If it's AWS, it's going to show it's going to show here. You see AWS. If it's Microsoft Azure, you'll see Microsoft Azure here. You're going to see Azure. If it's Google, you're going to see Google GCP, Google Cloud Platform. If it's Alibaba, IBM, or Oracle, or anything, it's going to show up here too. And then after you do that, then Terraform will create a lock file, okay, to do what it says here, to record the provider selections made above, okay? And one piece of advice here, include this file in your version control repository so that Terraform can guarantee to make the same selections by default. Now I will just clear my screen here. Any questions from anybody? Okay, so everybody doing fine, right? Watching online or on Zoom? Okay. All right. So we'll keep moving. So we've initialized our project, and now we can also validate. Validate is just to check the syntax, the code. Is it written okay? And it should say success here. So when it says success, then the configuration is valid. Then we go to Terraform plan. And Terraform plan, that's to preview your infrastructure. In my previous video, actually last week, here we had 9, but now we have 20 because I added additional resources here. Then you can review this. Also, you can export this plan onto a file, okay, to send to your manager to review, or your colleague, or your supervisor, or your client to review and say, hey, these are the things that I'll be creating as part of the infrastructure. What do you think? Then you will have to explain that if your client has no idea of what Terraform stands for and what SNS stands for here, or S3, then you can add more, explanation to these. So you have this as a file. You can add another file, like everything that you will see on my Git repository. Clear my screen, and now what we need to do is to apply. So if we have reviewed our infrastructure, whatever we want to create, now we say, okay, let's go ahead and apply. So we applied the configurations here. It's gonna say, okay, so you want to perform these actions? I type in yes. And this will take some time, probably about 10, maybe 10 to 15 minutes. And as we wait for that to complete, I want to take you again to my graph here, and just to help you kind of like make sense of what we're doing. So this is kind of like our basic infrastructure. And then remember when you go here, you see here we host our web application on an S3 bucket. Remember also that in life in general, there's not always one way to do something, right? There are always multiple ways to do the same thing, right? You can take this road or street or the other street to your right or to your left, but still get to the same destination. Meaning that here we're using S3 to host our web application, but you can use EC2 also to do the same stuff. The only difference is that with EC2 you can have a more dynamic web application or website. On S3, it's only you can have a static website, a very simple website. Also, you can use Elastic Beanstalk, another service, to kind of like abstract. You can abstract this here. So instead of you creating everything, you can use a serverless service to take care of your infrastructure. So you can use Elastic Beanstalk, you can use something else to do that. Meaning that you don't have to worry about S3 buckets or the underlying infrastructure for your website. But what you can do is to say, okay, so I only focus on my code, the code that you need for your web application, right? So you can, in that case, that's what you use the serverless resources on AWS. And as I explained at the beginning, this is the infrastructure. This is kind of like the basic components of the infrastructure that you need. What you need is how do you want your user to connect to your website? And in this case, we use a CloudFront. Okay, we use CloudFront, which talks to the website, your web application. And CloudFront allows people from anywhere around the world to connect to your web application. And once they connect to your web application, API gateway will be there to make sure that CloudFront then speaks to Lambda, and Lambda will do three things here. It's gonna send store the information from your student, like for our project here, the people that are enrolling into your courses. Then they're gonna store their information in DynamoDB, which is a NoSQL database. You can Google NoSQL database. The difference between NoSQL database and SQL database systems, to just for curiosity. That's how we learn, right? Then it's gonna store also the information into a SQL database, which is RDS. It could be Aurora, it could be anything there. The third thing that Lambda will do is to send a notification to the user, say, welcome to the course, and then and then tell them whatever information, additional stuff you want them to be aware of. And once they have that, then they will have access to the UI, to the user interface for whatever they enrolled into, okay? Which could be DevOps or cloud. That they have access to the courses, and for them to log into the dashboard, that's where they need, we need Cognito here. They need to authenticate themselves. And this is the infrastructure. This is what it does. This is what it does. I'm gonna explain you something else as we wait. We wait for this to be done, and it's almost done here. CloudFront takes a little bit longer to populate, to be created. That's why it's doing this, and here we get an error, and which I'll show you how to fix it here. All right, so putting S3 operation error response, and those public policies are blocked. So this is what we may need to configure here, and I'll show you how to do that. Let me see if I can get the code here quickly. I'm gonna show you how you can fix that. So what we need to do, because when you create an S3 bucket, what happens is S3 bucket by default, they block access to anything that is in there. So that's for security purposes. And then we have to configure our S3 buckets to allow the kind of traffic that we want to allow into our bucket. And also we need to define who should have access to that. So now, in our case, as part of our project, we are setting this S3 bucket to be a static, to host a static website. And we want people that have access to our link to also access the website, because we want them to register, right? And to do that, let me take you to the console here, and I'm gonna explain that on the console also. Then we'll change our code to allow that. So here's our bucket we just created, right? So we've created this bucket, the T2S dev front end, using Terraform. Then if you click in there, we have nothing here. We're gonna add the code to display our website, okay? We're gonna add that. And when you look here, but for this one to become to host a static website, we need to look at the permissions. If we want people to access our static website, then we need to change this here, because you see here, it's blocking access. You see, it's blocking access, public access to this one, and block all public access. So now what we need to do, let me look at something here. Yeah, here it says it okay, so it should be off. It should be off, so it should be okay. Let me look at my code here. So I'm gonna go back here, and I'll show it on my not entire screen. I'm gonna do it here. gonna clear my screen. So what I need to do is to go to the not. I'm gonna go to the. When you do this, you're going back one step up, and then I'll go another step up to find the modules, and we need to go to the S3 bucket, and we're gonna need to configure the main file here. Okay, so this one looks okay. This is how it should be. This is how it should be. I'm gonna try to run again, apply, and see what happens. And it should be okay. Yeah, it should be fine. And sometimes what happened is some resources, they depend on other resources, and when you have dependencies, like S3, let's say S3 was depending on something else, so that something else should be provisioned first, and when it's provisioned completely, then S3 will also be created. And sometimes that's what happens, and then that's why everything is here now. And if you do Terraform plan, you're gonna see that your screen will say, okay, no changes, because your infrastructure matches the configuration. So what we have done is I wrote the blueprint, and Terraform is my architect. Terraform has built it has built everything. It has built everything. And if you go back to the console here, now, so we have we have our buckets, and we can check. What else do we have? We should have also our API gateway. It's here. We should also have CloudFront should also have been created. It's here. And this is when S3 bucket communicate with CloudFront. This will be it's gonna be our domain name. So if you take this and run it on a browser, it should take you to the website or web application. All right, what else did you create? We created also Lambda, right? Or RDS. Let's see. So just verify. Here, click on databases. Here it is. That's our RDS. Let's see, Lambda. And it should have also been created. T2S backend dev function. So we've created that. DynamoDB. Let's see. Should have a table here. So we have two tables here. No, that should be only one. So T2S dev table. This is the one that we created today. So this is the one that we created. So every time somebody enrolls into a class, that information will appear here. There's gonna be some data somewhere here. All right, let's go back here. We go back to our S3 bucket. Now, what I want us to do today, because we want to end in just a few minutes, so we want to add content here, the code, so that we can see our web application. And to do that, remember, if you go back to our command line here, if you go back here, your ls, you see we have a web app directory here. So if I display visually what we have in this folder, we have this content here. So let me cat the index. So we're gonna cat web app and then the index. And the reason why I'm doing this, this is the path to this file here. The index file for web development, they use an index HTML file to define the website. Okay, so which will define our website. So this is what I did. It's a very simple website, but bottom line is this website will allow us to so I'll give you an example here. So it's going to allow us to show a form which will enable our potential students to enroll either in DevOps or cloud courses. All right, so we have that. So now what do we need to do next? What we need to do next is to add these things here. So we're gonna add these things here. So these 3 files to our S3 bucket. All right, and so we're gonna use the command line to do it. So it's gonna be AWS S3. So we're gonna copy, right? And then the path to, we're gonna start with this one, the path to this here. So it's gonna be web and then error. Then we send it to our bucket. So first we're gonna need to know the name of our bucket if we don't remember it. So this is the name of our bucket, and then we just copy this here, and I'll paste it there. It's gonna be column / twice, and then the name of our bucket. There. Yeah, looks good. Then press enter. Okay, so it says that we have uploaded this file here to the bucket. You repeat the same command, but this time you're gonna upload the index HTML file. Enter. You do the same, and this time we'll upload our logo. T2S. Enter. I'll clear my screen, and now what I want to do, I'm gonna check if these have been uploaded to our website, to our bucket. So it's gonna be that way, T2S dev front end. Yeah, from the command line, yes, they've been uploaded to our bucket. So now let's go to we're gonna go back to our console. So we go back to our console. This is what we had before. There was nothing in here. If you just refresh, you're gonna see the 3 files. Now, to access our website, it's gonna be using the index HTML file here. I'm gonna click on here, and then this is the URL that you use to access your website here. So I'm gonna copy that, and I'll create I'll open a new browser, paste it there, press enter, and this is our form. So this is our web application. This is what we need to do. We need it to create. And now, so here, there's going to be a simple problem here. So let's say I do that. Something like this, and then I enter the number here, and then the email. Enter a correct email here, like mine here. It's a different email I have. And then now here you have the drop down. You have DevOps and Cloud. Then you can select DevOps. But we'll get an error here. And this is something that will resolve in our final part of this project here. So you're gonna, if you do submit, when you submit, remember we say that when you submit, it should take you to, you should receive something, okay? You should see something, but you won't see anything because we have not configured our, if you look at the index HTML, let's see here. Let's go back to, so I'm gonna cat again. So let's see, we cat again, web, and then the index. So when you look here at the beginning, we look at this file, there's a section where we're gonna make sure that our website communicate with our API gateway. So just like in what the diagram I showed you. So this is what we're gonna work on next, the next time we meet, and it's gonna be like next week for the last part of this project. Because the key is not just for you to do this stuff, it's for you to understand the mechanism behind an infrastructure, provisioning an infrastructure like this one. Because you don't need to use the same services that I'm using, but you can change them, and then you can apply this approach on Microsoft Azure or Google, any type of cloud computing platforms out there. And this is where we're gonna add our API gateway, the API ID, to make sure that our web application can communicate with our API, like here. So that's what we want to do here. So we want the API to say, okay, so our web application communicates with first of all, the user accesses the web application using CloudFront instead of S3. So we're gonna change that, okay? So now, once they access, they come to this form here, to this page here. When they come here, they should be able to do this, to fill out the form, and then submit. And when they submit, they shouldn't get this error. You see here? It's because we have not configured some of the back-end services. And that's what I'm telling you here, that we'll configure this next week, this one here, and we'll also make sure that I'm gonna, let me go back here to finish. So we'll go for next week. For next week, and this is why you don't need to miss this one. For next week, we're gonna connect S3 to communicate with CloudFront, because we want our users, instead of using S3, they'll be using CloudFront. And then CloudFront will communicate with our API gateway. It's gonna communicate with our API. and our API will then communicate with Lambda, okay, with Lambda, and Lambda will talk to RDS. It's gonna talk to DynamoDB, and then we'll make sure that there's an SNS notification which will be sent to the user. So it's gonna be sent to the user here. So I want you to look at this and then just understand the infrastructure here. So this is what we do next week. The users will no longer connect to S3 directly. They will instead connect to CloudFront. They will connect to CloudFront here. Because CloudFront, we want it to communicate with API, and then API will talk to Lambda, and Lambda will store. This is to store. Lambda will store information in RDS and DynamoDB, and also notify the user. And we'll see if we can also add Cognito here. See if we can test it next week. All right, so this is pretty much the end of our session today. And you guys have questions, just let me know. Put your questions in the comment box. And I know some students, some people have been busy this weekend, and because of Christmas and the holidays and stuff like that. But it's always a pleasure having you and anybody else joining. Before we go, let's go back to the command line here. So I'm gonna clear my screen. So we are on the command line. The next thing we need to do is to go back into our environment. So you run the Terraform configurations in the desired environment, and we need to be in the dev, and that's where we've been. And now we want to destroy. We want to destroy everything. You can do destroy, auto approve, and when you do this, it's gonna skip the interactive aspect, saying, okay, do you wanna perform these actions? And as we do this, we're gonna get an error, and this error will be that we because we need to empty our S3 bucket before deleting it. We'll figure out how we can do that. By the way, I'll show you how you can empty the bucket. You can do it either just going to the console. So you can do it manually. Just going to the console, you go to your bucket here, just empty. If you select, you can and then you can just delete or something like that. But I want to do it on the command line. I'll show it to you in a moment, and it's an easy thing to do. Easy thing to do. All right. Any last chance? Any questions? Anybody? Or any? Just this is like a QA now for like the next 2 or 3 minutes. You may have a question on anything related to Terraform, anything related to AWS, things that we have been talking about lately. Just put it in the comment box, or if you joined on Zoom, just unmute your mic and speak up. All right, so that's the beauty of doing this, and I'm gonna just let me go. I'm gonna open a new terminal here. So let's go back here. I'm gonna open a new terminal, and what we do, we will just we're gonna empty our bucket. And to empty our bucket, we just use the command AWS S3. We're gonna say remove. That's RM, and then the name of our bucket. So we're gonna do that, and then we add this flag to say everything in this front end here. Let me change that. Anything in this bucket, we're gonna remove it. So that's the purpose of this command. It's AWS S3 RM, that's to remove, and then recursive will remove everything in it. So let's go back to our thing here. So with this one, we may not, if we go ahead and empty the bucket, then we will not see the error message. So I'm gonna say that. So now it's saying, okay, delete. So that's done. Let's go back to the console, and you're gonna see that this bucket has been emptied. I'm gonna refresh it here. So there's nothing in here. And then if you go back to your command line, when this is done, it should say destroy complete or completed or something like that, destruction completed or something like that. And that'll be the end. And always make sure that you verify. Go back to your console. So check your resources. You see the Dynamo DB, the tables here, it's gone. This one is something that I created before, but you don't have to worry about that. So you verify, always verify, because if you don't verify, it's gonna cost you money, and it's also gonna cost your company's money if you're doing this for a company. So always verify. Databases, that's gone. And I go to S3 bucket. Let's see here. It's still there. It's not yet deleted. So keep checking. Go to Lambda functions. There's nothing in here. We don't see anything here. So 0 Lambda functions. That's good. What else? Then keep checking simple notification. There should be nothing in here, so it's gone. No topics here, it's gone. So make sure that you verify that everything has been destroyed so that you don't incur some expenses. Well, this is pretty much the end of my session, but I'll show you something quick here before I let you go. And sorry that I went beyond, like 4 minutes beyond our time, but I wanted to share this with you, saying that you can come anytime here. You can come anytime here to check on what's happening here at T2S. So that's transformed2succeed.com. Thank you so much for watching. You have a blessed weekend, and if I don't see you before the December 25th, for those who celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas, and I'll see you next week on the 28th, and which will be our final session of this project. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye for now.